and welcome to a new episode of Plant Services Tool Belts Podcast. I'm Chief Editor Tom Welk, and today we're talking with Colin Elkins, who's the Vice President of Manufacturing Industries for IFS. Cloud computing has been changing the way many organizations operate for the past couple of years, and the more forward-looking maintenance reliability teams are starting to explore how the cloud can help them improve their asset management practices. Colin joins me for a conversation on those topics, as well as how AI and machine learning are starting to help fill some pressing needs in maintenance reliability today. Well, the first question was one that you alluded to when we were talking earlier, which is what innovations in IFS Cloud help differentiate it from previous IFS software releases?
Yeah, I think this release is very much an extension of Applications 10. Okay. Let's be clear about this. We've taken our Applications 10 product and we've turned it into a full product designed for the cloud. Mm-hmm. So we've not got a loss of functionality. The 30 years worth of functionality we put into the product is still there, and we will extend it. So in some respects, you could call it a technical upgrade. But it is a little bit more than a technical upgrade. It's the platform for a future strategy. So the first thing that's majorly significant is the interface is Arena only, which means we are dropping our web client basically to a full Arena client, Arena being our native client, which will run in effectively any operating system on any platform, so tablet, mobile phone, as well as the traditional back office PC applications. So that's the first one, is the fact that we are going directly to their cloud environment. Second thing, designed for cloud. So the whole product has been containerized. So we're using Kubernetes as a containerization capability, so we can deploy it a lot faster, a much more evergreen approach. Gone are the days of, a product release happening every 18 months to 2 years with interim patches. This is now probably a moving feast and maybe almost the last major product release we will ever have, because from now on in it will be an iterative change. But I use the word platform because not only have we done it from a product standpoint and functionality standpoint, we've also inserted a services layer within the product architecture. And in that layer, we are deploying AI, machine learning, cognitive services, and we're delivering them as packaged components. So rather than maybe take some of our competitors who treat all of this as a services-led, consultancy-led project, we're aiming to deploy package solutions in those automation areas that our customers can take, but also can tailor. So, for example, within cloud, we're launching the ability to use machine learning within our forecasting algorithms. So we can take external data. You alluded to food company, good example, taking weather patterns in, social media feeds in, to be able to refine and make those forecasts more accurate.
Okay.
So that's an example of where there will be a core capability, core service within the application that will deal with that within forecast planning, but also allow our customers to tailor. And the focus there is on explainable AI. We're not going there to deliver something that you need data scientists within your organization. It's explainable AI at the point that you can take the services and utilize them throughout the whole application. Okay. Although we will obviously deliver core capabilities into those areas. The other thing, I suppose, it's really doing is it's setting us a platform to build more of our other products into a single core product. And what I mean by that is we have an approach towards the circular economy. We have a process going now where we're taking the best of our ERP, which we have, the best EAM, which we have, but also taking some of our Gartner tier 1 service capabilities and bringing that into core application.
Okay.
That doesn't mean to say we're initially dropping field service. It just means that over a period of time, we will migrate a lot of those capabilities into the core product, because we believe that if you truly want to address the circular economy, which Gartner have predicted by 2029 will be the only economy, the linear economy will go, you really have to have everything almost in one place, purely to be able to track materials in the field and be able to bring them back via reverse logistics, repair, remanufacture, put them back into the field. And to do that, we kind of believe we need a single solution.
Okay. And that makes sense. You alluded to the follow-up question, which is, do some of those same features also differentiate IFS Cloud from others in the general EAM software market?
Yeah, and again, I think it's back to, there are a lot of what I would call edge applications or core applications that sit on the side of an ERP business solution. We compete against products like Maximo, what I would call the traditional maintenance type products. But we see, maintenance is becoming more into the core application. It's not something that you just go and repair or schedule the repair of an asset. It's more understanding that asset in the context of manufacturing, i.e. making sure that you're scheduling around those tasks, that your costings are around those tasks, all your processes. It's a single purchasing solution, whether you're purchasing maintenance spares or whether you're purchasing for an ERP, or whether you're scheduling labor resources from an HR skills point of view. You're not having to pass that data between two applications. And the other thing from my point of view is it stops what I would call the edge core application. Okay. So if you take a lot of ERP vendors out there have a core application, then you bolt a maintenance product onto the outside of it. But we kind of all know that nowadays there are lots of edge applications that sit around that maintenance product, as an example. So you end up with an edge application talking to effectively a maintenance product, which is on the edge of a core, which is your ERP. And that becomes extremely complex, and you dilute the data, to be honest with you, as you are integrating these products together, which you can do. And that's a strategy we have as well, using edge applications. But you kind of lose a little bit of the data continuity. So again, the strategy of building the core out with single edge applications rather than having multiple layer on layer on layer.
Okay.
So I think that's sort of that single solution is the mantra, and that, that's forcing us into other areas like using our own IoT capability, which we've extended in cloud. So we partnered with Crosser, where they will supply the technology to connect to the PLC of the machine. That data is then pumped up into our IoT central controller within the application in the cloud. And we can do one or two things with it from there. We can either take the data and stream that back into the application core as a series of tasks to update a quality spec, update a pallet count, etc. Or we're pumping that also into our own data lake, where we're using machine learning on the edge of that data lake to analyze that data and then come up with the functions and signals we want to push back into the IFS Cloud product. I suppose, if you put that all into a nutshell, it's all about having, rather than having multiple products with a single interface, which is a competitive strategy of some of our other competitors, our strategy is not to do that. Our strategy is to have a bigger core application, and the single user interface.
Okay. Well, let me ask about manufacturers or other customers who might have been working with beta versions of IFS Cloud. Can you talk about anyone, again, without naming names, perhaps?
I think you've had the press release from SimCore. SimCore are a pioneer. With all releases of IFS, whether it's been Applications 10 in the past, we had a beta program. We've done the same with the cloud product. The main manufacturer there is actually SimCore. You can read the content in their blog. And so far, the biggest thing that they're saying, apart from some of the things they say in the blog in terms of data, is the change in user interface is quite dramatic to them. Going from very much a forms-based solution like most ERP solutions are to something that is a little bit more wizard-based. it's a little bit more like going to a website where you'd expect to be taken through a process rather than know the process when you begin it.
Okay.
So the Arena interface is really trying to get far more to the sort of technology that people are used to in their daily lives, moving away from, here's a form, you need to know exactly how to fill it in. It's kind of guiding you, and it's bringing a lot more usability to that user interface.
Okay.
And that's one of the things they've said. The other thing they've obviously said is, having everything in one place, data in one place, access to information a lot faster. But a lot of that really is 10 as well, because, as I say, functionally, core-wise, it's almost the same product. It's not. There are enhancements that have gone into the cloud product that are not in 10.
Okay. What are the features in IFS Cloud? Maybe building on the previous answer about the wizard-based interface. What features in IFS Cloud should maintenance and reliability know about, or should they be able to take advantage of in this release?
We've been doing maintenance and asset management for 30 odd years. So from a core functionality, it's a Rolls Royce of the product. I mean, it's a very capable product. I think I stress the word asset management. It's not just a maintenance product. There's more to it than just pure maintenance. We are talking about managing assets. And as you know, if you've spoken to Colin Beanie in the past, when we talk about an asset being an oil rig, which is far more sophisticated than it just being a CNC machine or a production line within a factory. I think the key takeaway about is the MES layer. By putting an IoT strategy in place with a data lake, we are in some respects eliminating that need to put an MES layer in. I'm not talking ISO 95 here. I'm talking just that sort of data connection to a service on a device to be able to pull data out of it.
Okay.
We cover most of ISO 95 within the ERP product anyway. I think that those would be my big takeaways, apart from the fact that we are currently in the middle of a project with a huge paint manufacturer. They're in 45 countries, 4,500 users. And we're looking at we are actually using machine learning for more of a predictive maintenance. So rather than relying on strategies that you take, you say, I'm going to maintain this on a predictive basis every 3 months or every 6 months, or I'm going to do it on a cyclic count of every so many stampings or so many hours production. We're looking at this far more than taking more data from the device via IoT and using predictive analytics, using machine learning to actually come up with something that is far more robust in some respects. Well, not necessarily more robust, but less rigid, which means that you might extend the maintenance cycle by a period of 2 months. Why replace the head bearing if the head bearing isn't vibrating? Why replace a roller bearing in a conveyor if there's no heat being generated and there's no noise being generated, because it's still sound? So having those routine maintenance tasks cost a lot of money, downtime and parts. If you can actually start doing more predictions. And the reason why we chose this paint company is an interesting story. It's a bit of a side story, but they themselves paint ships, big ships. I mean, we're talking giant ships. Okay. And one of the things they've been doing is working with their customers to work out the relative speed of the boat through the water compared with engine power. So basically, as the anti-fouling wears off the ship, i.e. the paint, the ship will go slower for the same amount of power. So they've been able to create a software program that their customers use that actually work this lot out. So they then can tell the ship owner, you need to bring ship 7 into dry dock in 2 months' time, because the performance of the engine against slip through the water is actually now costing you money. It'd be better to repaint it. And that's a huge win for us. So we're doing the same for them as they've done for their customers, which makes it a kind of really interesting story.
No, that is fascinating. The IoT is bringing connections together for people that hadn't been available before. Share a quick story back with you. There was a mining company that applied IoT sensors to their fleet to make sure that vibration, again, vibration monitoring to make sure that the vehicles were operational. What they ended up doing was repairing the roads out of the mine better, because once they knew the vehicles were in top condition, every vibration was a new pothole. It wasn't the fleet. So they actually improved their road care and improved productivity, not so much from the fleet, but from repair of the road. And it's one of my favorite IoT examples where the real need was road repair. It wasn't the fleet. Fleet was good, but road actually improved productivity.
This whole area of IoT is just opening up so many new entrants. I read one the other day, which I kind of found fascinating. You know, one of the issues manufacturing companies have always had is, you know, connecting a sensor to a machine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, how do you know that it's just made a pallet? How do you know that it's just done another stamping? Because it's all electronics. As a company, and I think it's in France, have come up with a sensor which you literally just bolt to the machine that measures the vibrations. Mm-hmm. So it knows when the head goes up and comes down again that must have actually done a stamping, not by anything other than the fact there's a vibration change, and they can then map the vibration changes to functions and use that as an IoT and an MES capability. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see this whole thing boom, you know, as people build more and more sensors in their devices or into their products they sell. I think we're going to see a whole plethora of data. And again, cloud is probably the single best way of deploying that data.
Right. On a micro level, I know a company that is manufacturing sensors with lubrication guns attached, and you bolt them onto your bearing, and they're ultrasound sensors. So when they detect ultrasound frequencies out of whack, a little squirt of grease goes in to remedy the problem. So we've gone from just monitoring to actually applying the maintenance.
Yeah, and again, these are all very small solutions, but they all add up to huge amounts of time. You know, you take a production line down in a food company, well, you know what the nightmare that causes. You know, you're talking about a business 365, 24 hours, 364, 24 hours a day. It's 7 days a week. I mean, taking a machine down to 4 or 5 hours is huge, which is why it takes a lot of planning. So extending life cycles of machines, and rather than actually have what I would call sort of routine maintenance, because we've always done it, we're now being able to refine those maintenance tasks using real data to say, well, you don't need to yet, because it's not going to fail.
All right. You mentioned forecasting earlier, that IFS Cloud was designed to help improve forecasting, again, by bringing these data sets together. For a specific MRO question, are you seeing customers use this product, or have you imagined customers using this project to improve their shutdown and turnaround operations? You know, the traditional do it once, twice a year might be giving way towards do it as needed based on the forecasting data.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason for it. I say, you know, going back to the example with the ship painter, that's what they've done. You know, you don't paint the ship until you need to. You know, our machine learning that we're working with them is you don't take the plant down until the machine learning program tells you need to take the plant down. And I think it will ultimately extend the life of assets, which will increase OEE and all the benefits you get out of having plant up and not suddenly having to schedule a maintenance crew when it's not needed.
Okay. No, thank you for making the connection explicit. I appreciate that.
Yeah, sorry.
The last question then was, looking forward, can you talk about what might be next on the product roadmap? And I love the fact that you led off the conversation by saying IFS Cloud is more of a platform for a future strategy. So thoughts on what that strategy might include?
Yeah, I mean, I think the strategy of bringing it all together is one. I think really having a focus to address the circular economy. It's something that's very dear to my heart. I can tend to blog about it quite a lot, and I think, you know, if you wait for our launch video, make sure you watch the manufacturing launch video. I'm plugging it there. It's all about circular economy. It's all about the fact that service, maintenance, asset management, manufacturing are all really starting to come together now. You know, and manufacturers out there are redesigning their products. You know, they're looking a little bit more about the energy being used when they manufacture a product. So a machine no longer is just something that makes something. You know, a machine starts to become something that adds to the cost of manufacture. And it's not as simple as an overhead that's applied generally within the financial ledgers anymore. it's something where you can take a real look at what you're doing. We have a company in Sri Lanka who make tires. Now, Sri Lanka is a country that is bereft of water in some respects. Water is a real commodity. So they've started to relook at what they do by actually designing processes that use less water in their manufacturing cycles. And you only do that by looking at the assets you've got and how you manage them. But more importantly, how much they're costing you and how much they're costing you when you manufacture products. And I think, a lot of the things we're putting into the product play much to that by bringing the data all into one source. So you can track materials and keep them in the economy for as long as possible. There are some big functional changes coming. One is in the area of planning, specifically for the food and beverage industry, where we're really looking to address what I would classify as the day one for one scenario, daily planning, getting away from the planning in days to much more planning in hours and planning production cycles to meet lorry dispatch times. Really bringing that granularity down, which is something that I don't think many ERP vendors do. We tend to operate a little bit above that layer and let MES systems and various paperwork systems to basically handle the rest. And we're really looking to put some functionality in there. We're really concentrating on this services layer, though. We actually see by putting, we have two projects going that are really key to us. One is the machine learning project, which is a project called Turing, but we have another one called Minerva. And Minerva's about taking data that is not in a readable form, an easily understandable form, into an understandable form using cognitive services. So actually being able to take data that would be in a manual or a set of notes or a video or a soundbite, taking that in and turning that into data, so that we can use that data to orchestrate machine learning. So there's a whole area going in the area of cognitive services, chatbots, machine learning, that whole thing. Plus the fact we also, this release, we're launching our own business process management, our own workflow, fully integrated workflow engine within the product. Extending our existing capabilities. And it's really, I think, the big soundbite coming from R&D really is, this whole lock down the core, extend on the outside. So where we don't have the capability, let's look at, edge applications. Let's look at taking the best application over here and sitting it with your core. But our focus is still on making that core as big and broad as we can. So our customers can can get maximum use out of an edge application rather than having it as an edge on an edge on a core.